Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome. If you haven't already subscribed, then feel free to hit subscribe. Today I'm at a location that I've never visited before. I'm at a place called Grey Mare's Tail Waterfall. Now I know what you're thinking. No, it's not the one at Moffat. And if you've been following the channel for a while, you might be thinking, oh, he's in Kinlochleven. I'm not there either. I didn't realise there was a third Grey Mare's Tail waterfall, so we're going to explore that. I'm down in the Galloway Forest Park. Let's go. Now, as I say, I've never been here before, so I don't really know, but I'm guessing that this here is Grey Mare's Tail. Straight away I can see there's a path there leads up to a fence which can get you quite close to one side of the fall, and on this side there's a path leading up the way which I'm guessing takes you to a second viewpoint. Only one way to find out. The path actually peters out quite quickly. It looks as though I do actually have to be on the other side. This seems to be the route. Now, clearly the main route is going up the hill there, but I noticed that there's this path here which takes you down to the waterfall, so I'm going to explore this first. Okay. Right, I'm actually starting to quite like this as a viewpoint. So, yeah. Looks alright, doesn't it? I've got my usual problems. It's another clear blue sky day. If I tilt you up, you can see that for yourself. And that means that the exposure time for especially the highlights in this waterfall is going to be very, very fast, and that's not really how I like to shoot waterfalls. I tend to look for an exposure time of around about 0.8 of a second. Now I have a couple of ways of doing that with me. One is I've got a 10 stop neutral density filter, and the other is I have the hybrid circular polarizer variable neutral density filter. So what I'll do is I'll try first of all with the hybrid filter, because that has the added advantage of having the polarizer, and I might be able to cut down on some of the reflections down here as well. What I like here is this little pool of light which is just catching that little tree sapling, and that's casting quite a nice shadow on the rock down there, but it's also standing out from the darker background because it's catching the light. And this little pool of light here as well is providing some foreground interest. I also like these rocks for exactly the same reason. They're catching the light, they introduce a bit of foreground element, and they allow me to break up what would otherwise be a very dark pool. I don't want to go too high that we start to include the sky, because that's going to introduce a whole separate problem when it comes to exposure. I'm reluctant to place the waterfall smack bang in the middle of the frame, so I'll probably place it off to the side, something like that, stressing that I want to include this pool of light here, and I want to include that little sapling. I do want to include these boulders, and they're kind of framing the shot. I also like, we've got some leaves here which are just catching the light as well, so those leaves combined with the arc of those rocks actually provides quite a nice frame into which you can throw this patch of light here, and the shrub, tree sapling, whatever it is, and the waterfall. So I think this is probably going to be my composition. Obviously a little more vertical because we want to include the top of the waterfall as well. But essentially that's the composition. I'm going to quickly snap a second shot, and what I'm doing here is I'm going vertical, so from about there across to there, just basically the entire waterfall. And the reason I'm shooting it this way is I like the fact we've got light on the background there, but very little on the foreground, so that's giving you a contrast, a kind of dark and shadow contrast with the light waterfall running down the middle. Okay, how about this? What I've done is I've come down a little bit off the path, and that's allowing me to make more of that foreground pool. I'm still using the polarizer to kill the reflections though, but at least I've got more of that in there. And it's also allowing me to include a little more of these foreground rocks, and that's kind of helping frame the shot again. I've still gone vertical, so we're still including the top of the fall. The main emphasis is the pool, the fall, and these rocks which are framing the pool. Right, I think I've exhausted this viewpoint. There is a little bit of a path goes slightly further round. I might give that a go, but I don't see how that's going to improve the view of the waterfall, because I suspect we're going to lose it behind this rock in the foreground. But I'll stick my head round in the off chance that there is another composition there. We also have a problem in that all these shrubs and saplings that I was using earlier are probably going to block the view, so I genuinely don't think there's another shot round there. Yeah, as I suspected, the further round you come, the more intrusive these little saplings become, so I don't think there's a shot here. What I might do though is work my way back down the stream a little and see if we can make something with those little cascades that I was so taken with earlier. I might lose the main fall, but those look quite photogenic in their own right. Right, this would have made for a nice shot, I think, but for one thing. See if you can guess what that one thing is. Yeah, it's the fact you can't see the base of the fall, and I always think it's important to be able to see the base of the falls, and that's a shame because you do have these little trickling cascades all along the foreground, and even down here there's some more, and they've got a bit of potential, I think, but because of that huge boulder which is right smack bang in the middle of the stream, you lose the bottom of the fall unless you're right up there at it, and that's a great shame. I'm going to brave, see if it's possible to go to the other side of the stream. It doesn't look particularly deep here, and I'd have come armed with my wellies. Do you get armed with wellies? I don't know. Anyway, I've got the wellies with me, so I might try and get a little bit closer to see if it's possible to get to a point where that boulder isn't blocking the view of the base of the falls. I kind of suspect it's not going to be possible, but again, I'd kick myself if I don't give it a go. Right, what about this for a shot? What I've done here is I've come further downstream, and although you still can't see the base of the waterfall, and that's normally a problem for me, I think we kind of get round to that because of these little cascades here and that lovely reflection on the underside of this boulder. So although you can't see the base of the main cascade, I think this kind of compensates for it slightly in terms of the composition. Camera's probably not picking that up, but because we've got the sun pretty much directly behind me now, we're also getting a beautiful little rainbow forming at the base of the waterfall. So I've taken the shot pretty much like this. This is the composition, and yeah, it looks all right. I'm probably going to do a square crop here as well, because I think a square crop would work. I kind of like this tree overhanging. I really like this boulder in the foreground. That little cascade there and the little tiny trickle here, and then obviously the waterfall beyond. I think it makes for quite a nice square crop, and so I'll probably take that shot just now. I might even go into vertical orientation and make it a 2-shot panel, and then try and stitch it together later on, just to maximise the detail in the shot. But yeah, that's absolutely lovely, isn't it? Right, I'm going to continue down stream a little bit back towards the main road, and we'll have a look and see if there's any other potential compositions. Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest, if that worked. So that's us for another grey mare's tail. Hope you enjoyed. Give us a little thumbs up if you did, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, bye.